Well, this is my office, so therefore I want a pretty happy office.
Well, I just think that it's part of the Australian rural landscape, that beautiful landscape with those great trees in it.
The more trees that are about, the more nature that's about us every day just gives us an aspect that just makes the whole world more pleasant to be in.
Paddock trees, the essence of rural Australia, scattered through the farming landscape, elders bearing witness to the passing of time. Their values are many: shelter for stock, habitat for wildlife, and simple beauty. And they help connect us to places and to people. But they're disappearing, an ageing population slowly dying out, taking with them a quintessential characteristic of the Australian farm. In many landscapes, they're being lost at disturbing rates and will be all but gone in just a few decades. Meet Matt and Nathan. They've been charged with the task of making a film about the plight of paddock trees and why nurturing future generations of them is so important. But we'll catch up with those guys later. Out near Tarcutta, Liz McCallum has already been busy transforming her property, reversing the decline in paddock trees.
When we first came here in 1987, one of the reasons that we liked it so much was that it was reasonably well treed. After having had a cyclone, we needed to do something about replacing trees, because some of the trees that were taken in the cyclone would have been at least 100 years old. So we decided that we would plant paddock trees, and planted about 280 trees in 3 different paddocks. So it's not easy to get the trees to grow in, individually like this, but it's quite surprising how well a lot of them have gone. I think the paddock trees are most important. Stock need shade in the summer, and they need shelter in the winter.
The efforts of farmers like Liz can make a big difference. The hard data on the economic benefits of paddock trees is mounting. Put simply, the winter and summer protection that Liz pointed out equates to more wool and better live weight gains. Programs like Murrumbidgee Landcare's cross-property planning project are assisting neighbouring landholders to protect their paddock trees and ensure there are future generations of them coming through. It's a win for agricultural productivity and for wildlife. Paddock trees often contain hollows, which scores of wildlife species depend on. That's a major Mitchell's cockatoo. It's just fed its chicks in this old balar tree near Gulgowie. Another threatened species that uses paddock trees is the elusive squirrel glider, especially when they're less than 50 metres apart and easy to glide between. Perhaps it's best we just get on with the film. Gliders, possums, small birds, lizards and microbats all benefit from the protection of paddock trees. In turn, they offer their own benefits. Together they can devour huge numbers of insects, which helps keep the trees, pastures and crops healthy. They're nature's free pest controllers, rarely recognised for their contribution to a productive, profitable farm. If you have lots of paddock trees and other good habitats on your farm, then you can rest assured knowing that every year tons upon tons of insects are being eaten. At the same time, you'll be supporting wildlife species that are crucial in offering pollination and other essential services.
I can see the stick.
Moving on. Another significant wildlife species that can be rare and hard to find, but also uses paddock trees, is the threatened superb parrot. It is benefiting from the work farmers are doing to address the disappearance of paddock trees and restore habitat.
My name's Caroline Hermes, this is my husband Ashley Hermes, and we run sheep and cattle here, a bit of cropping on our property of just over 2,000 acres. We love seeing birds, and there's every winter superb parrots come here to nest. There's a hollow, we watched a bird looking, bringing a mate back, going in, having another look around, so we hope that that was a successful nesting.
Paddock tree problem in this particular paddock was there was only it's a 100-acre cropping paddock, and there was only 6 or 8 adult trees still alive when we bought the property. So we 2 years ago planted more trees up along this area, which is never going to be cropped. These trees were deep ripped with a bulldozer. The actual spot they are at was deep ripped. Then a seedling was planted, mulched, 3 steel posts plus mesh put on them, and they were watered through their first year. So it's a very labour-intensive and very expensive individual tree planting, but it's just essential if you want to maintain that beautiful rural landscape that we're so famous for.
We hope we get to see some shady trees here. We hope we live that long. One of my pet hates is where there are bigger farms and they might heap sticks and things up against a tree, and then they burn their stubble, and the stubble catches fire to all the sticks that they've just collected, and they burn beautiful old specimen trees, and that's one of my pet hates.
Stubble burning is often a big contributor to the incremental loss of paddock trees over time. Fire breaks and stubble retention can help avoid this. Cropping too close is also bad news, but that can be easily avoided too. Addressing other key threats like spray drift and fertiliser application near trees are all positive actions that can be taken to reverse the decline. With so many threats, it's little wonder so many paddock trees are sick and suffering from dieback. And they're often lonely too. Their isolation was framed humorously by a recent NSW Landcare campaign.
Fewer the trees there are, the more stocking pressure that's underneath them, and there's more fertility and all the problems that come with that, with compaction. And so I believe that too many people are concentrating on planting new trees and not looking after their old trees. We're trying to do both, and the paddock trees themselves, there's ways around just protecting them from direct access from stock and from applications from boom sprays when they're not meant to be there, not putting fertiliser too close, not cropping too close to the trunks. All those sorts of things need to be worked on. I personally feel it's important that we fence some of them off and look after them, and also regenerate, and it's going to take hundreds of years to get that habitat back.
Constant grazing pressure is indeed a key issue. Without resting periods, grazing suppresses the regeneration of those young trees and can also lead to excessive nutrient build-up and soil compaction. The old trees become the living dead, with no certain future.
So this is an example of the adult tree dieback on this property. We've owned this property for about 5 years. When we first bought, these 4 trees are alive. In the last couple of years, 2 of them have died and the 3rd one's on the way out. Probably caused by livestock camping around the base of them, and wind and water washing away the topsoil, damaging the base of the root system of the trees. And so this is the sort of problem we have all over the property. This is another area up here on the hill where we had a large paddock of over 300 acres. We subdivided into smaller paddocks so that we can control the grazing pressure on these paddocks, especially during summer, and we can take stock off if they're starting to damage young trees. You can see the regeneration up on that hill there. It's all just come up naturally, and we're hoping to improve the number of adult trees into the future.
With the right grazing regime, paddock trees have enormous potential. They act as wildlife stepping stones, allowing movement through the landscape, but they can be much more than that. They are the bare bones, the last survivors, the framework, ready to begin rebuilding patches of healthy bush. They can be connected to existing remnant patches and incorporated into revegetation works.
This particular block we selected, there was 3 or 4 paddock trees still doing quite well in this creek. So we fenced this off about 10 years ago. A large number of regrowths were underneath the existing trees. So about half of these trees that are in here came up naturally, and the other half we topped up with extra plantings.
Reinstating an understory of native shrubs and grasses, retaining fallen timber, and allowing the fungi and underground microbes to flourish once again all helps to create a more complete, self-sustaining system. These various parts are all bound together, linked ecologically. The more parts present, the more wildlife, and the more positive effects on soil health and the whole farm operation. The alternative of treeless rural landscapes is unimaginable. Rather than standing by and watching the values of these icons steadily vanish, it's inspiring to see farmers stepping up, protecting the old giants and nurturing future generations.
And the well-being of the farm is terribly important. It's not just for my own well-being, it's for the generations to come. And I've got to a stage where probably we've done it almost enough, planting some things now and looking after our bigger, older trees, but it becomes addictive and I can't stop doing it.